Dude, there has been so much to talk about within the Fortnite community this week, and now I am finally just getting to this live event talk, the post-live event talk around Hypex over here. And today, I'm going to be talking about maybe a little bit of a lesson that we should be had moving forward. We're going to talk about the idea and what exactly happened with the live event. We're going to be talking about what the Fortnite community thought about the live event because it was all built up to be this big grand thing. Didn't end up being the case, but again, we're going to talk about it today. I'm going to give my thoughts, and then we're going to get into the Fortnite community and what they thought about it as well. Mouthful right there. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Kyle. I'm your guy with too many YouTube channels. So it all, of course, started off with this post from Hypex over here. This live event is going to be what lore fans have been waiting for, and this is something that ended up getting quote tweeted over and over and over again because the leakers, and specifically Hypex, but then the other leakers started talking about this as well in the build up to the live event, that this was going to be like the biggest grand thing of all time. But what Epic Games said was that this is going to be a mini live event. Let me bring you through a couple more things over here before I give my thoughts, okay? Post the event, Hypex, sorry, I just looked at the reply over here. Hypex said, I'm thinking of how to make it up for some of y'all who didn't like the event and are mad at me. Hold on, give me a minute. And I believe he ended up just leaking something like SpongeBob. It was a big leak, or either that or the Harry Potter coming to Fortnite. It was probably SpongeBob because people lose their minds over Harry Potter. But let's continue on over to the next post. Just to keep you in the knowing, Fortnite ended up posting this after the event. What the heck was that demon? Something huge is coming at the end of the month. Stay tuned for more about the end of chapter event on November 29th. So this satisfied a little bit more of the Fortnite community because it was kind of looked like this is just going to be part one of the event. And part 2 is going to actually be the biggest and the baddest event, and this is where it kind of comes into like my own reply over here, and the process repeats. Everybody's going to get all hyped about it. Everybody's going to talk about the last reality. Everybody's going to be talking about Geno, and perhaps the event might be underwhelming, and I'm more inclined to think that it will be underwhelming because of the way that they ended up handling live events, and especially chapter-ending live events since Donald Mustard ended up taking off from Epic Games. I never want to sit down and be like oh, Epic Games was so much better when Donald Mustard was around, which, okay, like, there is some truth to that. There's some truth to that, but I don't, you get the point. Like, there's everybody that's just hungry to just hate on anything modern Fortnite because it's just not Donald Mustard. I don't want to be one of those guys. I acknowledge that Donald Mustard did a lot better, but this is one of those cases, like, when it comes to story events and live events, I trusted if Donald Mustard was actively involved, but he's not, so I don't really trust it. But anyways, so that is the entirety of kind of what's been going on with the event. They're just kind of getting the build up for the next event coming up. And so far, the Fortnite community shockingly seems a little bit satisfied with it. So before we end up getting into what I wanted to ask the Fortnite community about and ended up getting a bunch of replies over on the Explore page, because not only did the live event hit the Explore page, but just Hypex hit the Explore page. That's how much people we're talking about this. But before we actually dive into it, I want to give my thoughts on the entire situation before, and I have a, like, just hear me out with this, okay? Because I don't want to sit down and kind of be like oh, guys, look, I told you so, but I kind of have to be. Like, I've said multiple times throughout a video that was titled something like, hey, guys, watch this before Epic Games' next event, and I warned everybody to listen to the exact words of Epic themselves, and not the leakers or the hype. And I know it's gonna sound egotistical, but because I took my own advice, I enjoyed myself despite not exactly liking The Simpsons. I went into that event thinking exactly what Epic Games said it would be, a mini event. We got a cool little bit of lore, which in all honesty, I do think was even too little for a mini event, but we got the fun seasonal story after that. I enjoyed The Simpsons. It was fun. It was a good time. My expectations were managed, but the vast majority of people didn't have their expectations managed. And I don't want the point of this video to kind of just like have me sit down and be like, hey guys, look at me, I told you so, look at how smart I am. I really, really care about you watching this video. I care about the community. I care about everybody in the Fortnite space kind of being happy. And I just think it's important that we talk about this and learn from this, and perhaps maybe listen to what Epic Games is saying when they say something about the event. I ended up getting a little bit of pushback over on X because I said that it wasn't the fault of the leakers, but it was the fault of the individual. And for that post, I would like to expand upon it just a little bit for those of you who ended up seeing it, because again, I said that it's not on the leakers, it falls on the individual for not really enjoying the event. Everyone's blaming the leakers and Hypex for just dropping the ball, getting everybody hyped up, but the problem, I really don't believe the problem is on Hypex, guys. He's not the problem. And if you want to like look that deep into it, he did say that it would be something lore fans would be waiting for, which was the Dark Presence. So technically, he got it right. And I don't know, like, I know there were many conversations about this being more than just a small event by a bunch of leakers, but we also have to, again, we have to put blame on the individual for connecting every single little thing to the last reality coming back, the 7 returning. Oh, hang on. That's what I said. I should have had the tweet up here, but I just didn't. But anyways, I said something to the extent it's almost exact of like, this isn't on the leakers, it's the fault of the individual, because Epic's exact words of mini event, they looked at that and then they did mental gymnastics to compare that to the last reality, the 7, and kind of like all of that. And as we know, most people aren't capable of handling personal responsibility, so I got a little bit of pushback on that one, but I do understand, okay? And this is why I wanted to expand on my opinion throughout this. So I did want to touch on, though, something that I should have touched on the tweet is Tim Sweeney, okay? He was, of course, seen liking posts that were speculating about the event being much bigger than it was. That is a direct contradiction to his own company's official messaging about the event. And you could say he was, like, stoking the fire a little bit. I'm a little bit conflicted because he can like what he wants, and it should remain private, but he also has to understand that whatever he likes is going to be pushed out to the public, whether that's right or not. So he kind of should have that in mind, and ultimately, I do think that Tim was a little bit irresponsible with this entire situation, because why wouldn't people take his word? I kind of understand that. But again, everybody decided to trust the vague likes conversations from leakers instead of the words at Epic that had like right in front of your face right there, which was, this is a mini event. Before we talk about what everybody else ended up thinking about the situation though, I would like to further remind everybody, and this is something that I said in the other video, that at the end of the day, this is a video game. I love it too. I love the story, but you shouldn't be like this genuinely angry like what I've been seeing and a lot of us have been seeing about people online. If you're part of that group, I think that you need to take a step back and reevaluate some things. At the end of the day, it truthfully isn't a big deal. It is so insignificant in your life, okay? So learn from this and adjust your actions and your thoughts accordingly next time when Epic Games talks about a live event. Whenever something like this happens, you need to go into these events and story events with these realistic expectations and reasonable expectations and allow yourself to maybe be pleasantly surprised. You will find yourself a lot happier when it comes to pretty well anything in life and Fortnite in general, okay? But of course, it's not just about what I think. I wanted to get the opinion of the Fortnite community as well. I ended up, of course, posting this on X that you've seen already. So the event didn't turn out to be this big grand lore event like people believed. We'll talk more about it in a video. If you have any thoughts, drop them below and I will include some replies. Thank you for your time. And if you guys would like to join the conversation, follow me over at X at Clen YouTube, or you can check the link tree in the pinned comment description down below, or you can check the direct links if you want to find the direct link to X over there. And by the way, guys, like and subscribe. I'm very happy to have you here. Let's get into what some people had to say, okay? Let's start with Alucard over here. My honest thoughts about the mini event. Even though it was a mini event and it didn't really live up to the hype, I found the Dark Presence reveal really sick. The way they implemented the Simpsons animation to the Fortnite storyline was actually clever and funny. No one does IP collaborations as well as Fortnite. They always manage to make them fit into the storyline perfectly. Yeah, dude, oftentimes that is something that Fortnite's very good. And dude, I still think that it was a little bit too little, even for the mini event, man. The Dark Presence looked so cool. When it ended up coming out, I was like, oh my god, the Dark Presence is actually here. We're actually seeing it. And then, smack, Simpsons. I didn't like that we saw the Dark Presence in The Simpsons. I liked everything else that they ended up doing in The Simpsons, but I think that's a very, very fair take, okay? Defaulting had this to say, we have 20-year-old... Oh, I saw this tweet. I retweeted this tweet. We have 20-year-old grown men adults mad at people over Fortnite events. Let's grow up, will we? This is where I'm sitting on it. It's a Fortnite event. And I know that sometimes, like in these videos, I start yelling and get a little bit heated, but truthfully, when I turn off the microphone, I don't think about this for the rest of the day. These types of things should be such an insignificant little part of your life unless you are a creator. It's understandable to have emotions invested into this because, you know, you've kind of intertwined your own income into this. But for the regular people, not a big deal, okay? I'm completely with defaulting on this. Let's continue on over to Happy Power. Back it up, Hypex. I know. Dude, it's crazy. Hypex himself was actually trending. And this is where it goes back to the other tweet. I couldn't believe, like, the genuine anger we were seeing at Hypex. So what? He got it wrong. It's mostly your fault for looking at mini event and going, oh, actually, it's not going to be a mini event. That's what I didn't understand about this whole thing, okay? This makes up for nothing in my opinion. This event has completely halted the build-up that we've had for the past year, essentially making the past year's story pointless. This season was one big waste of time. It depends how they conclude it. Because the way that I'm looking at it, let's assume, or I'm hoping, let's assume that the actual chapter ending event will be lore-filled. It'll be great. There'll be no collabs. Superman's not going to come in and save the day. I don't think that'll be the case. I personally think that Epic Games is going to drop the ball, but I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to give them a chance. I would be okay with this because we saw the Dark Presence. The way that they actually told the story with the alien was pretty funny in my opinion. Like, oh my god, we need to go here. No, we're going to go to Springfield. Like that type of thing. It's funny. So we're kind of taking a pause in between realities and between time. And somehow they're going to make it back. And then we're going to get dropped right back into where the event was taking place. That I don't mind. As long as they conclude it well. I would have liked to see a little bit more of the Dark Presence, but I'm not ready to call it a waste of time yet. I'm still going to be hoping for the best of this entire thing. Let's continue on to the big Craig D. For what it was, I enjoyed this event. I loved Hope and the Jones stuff. It was fun. I don't like how they revealed the Dark Presence design in that cutscene, though. That wasn't cool. Yes, that's mostly my problem with it. I would have liked to have that mystery through the entire season. Like, we finally saw it. We finally saw the Dark Presence. I can't wait to get back there. But then it makes it look so much less intimidating when it's in the Simpsons area and they're just making a big joke about it. That's the only real misstep that I think that they had, in my opinion. Okay, let's continue on over to Mary over here. I just can't force myself to be happy about a year-long storyline. I was so emotionally invested in being whored out for another collab. I just cannot pretend to see no issue. To be honest, a little bit more of the same like I was talking about. We'll just have to wait and see how the ending of the chapter event goes. Maybe they connect it really well. Maybe they tell the story really well. But let me stop you for just one more second, guys, over here. Excuse me if you hear my notification. With these videos, I have been advertising my supporter creator code, so I ask that if you do not have a code that you are currently using in the item shop, you consider using my code Clen. I have been grinding on YouTube as hard as I possibly can in order to make enough money I want to be the sole provider of my family. We're going to have more kids. Life is expensive. You guys have been helping me out big time. You've been giving me some breathing room with this code, so I ask again that if you do not have a supporter creator code that you are currently using in the item shop, please consider using my code Clen. And by the way, speaking about family, my wife downloaded Fortnite. She is a big Simpsons fan. She loves Harry Potter. And I told her, hey, Harry Potter's coming to Fortnite. There's a Simpsons season right now. She downloaded it. She's going to try it. I'm going to teach her by myself. And you guys might see a stream with my wife and I playing Fortnite. She might make the big grand debut. But she is a little bit camera shy, so I am going to respect that. And just, that might be something that you see. Maybe it was just a voice, but we're going to probably have a stream together. And I think it'd be cool to like maybe invite a couple other guys to end up playing too. But anyways, let's continue on over to what Tanks had to say about the event. Sorry, we got a little bit off topic there. I'm excited. My wife is always a big Nintendo girl, and I was like, man, Fortnite's not your regular shooter because she doesn't like shooters. And we're actually going to give it a shot. Hopefully she ends up liking it, okay? She liked Thanos stuff back in the day, but that's the extent of her Fortnite experience. My full thoughts on the event. Epic promoted it as it was, and I expected that from the lack of teasers. So I had a feeling that the event would be what the event would be, and went in with very low expectations. Leakers, specifically Hypex and Blordson, were definitely overhyping it way too much, making it out to be something that it wasn't in their POV. Maybe they were misinformed at the event at the end of this Simpsons season, but I still feel like they did way too much with the overhyping. Now that we know there is a part 2 of the event, I'm not disappointed at all. If the first 10 seconds before that was short and peak, I can't even begin to imagine what the event at the end of the Simpsons season will be, so I can't wait to hear about that. I'm glad that we were given a proper transition from the two islands and that we had an event and some sort of closure. People really need to cut Epic some slack, to be honest. I can't wait to play and stream the new season later today. That's something that I appreciate that they did. It wasn't just, oh, Homer's in, took down the Dark Presence, now we're on Springfield. I like the way they ended up telling the story, and I think that's a fair way to take a look at it. Let's continue on over to what Apollo said. I was pretty disappointed at first, but since Epic already confirmed we were getting a true story event in a few weeks, I'm not that upset anymore. It was a funny event, and they did advertise it as a mini event, excuse me, so Epic's not to blame for our false hype. Very well said. And I would have been disappointed myself as well if we weren't getting that supposed closure that we are getting. I'll be right up there with you guys with the major disappointment, but I'm, again, going in with realistic expectations. I'm not expecting much from it, so maybe I will end up satisfied. I'm waiting to judge. If we get more of the same with the chapter ending event, and then like Harry Potter comes in on his broom and goes, sorry, I'm not a big Harry Potter fan, like Expelliarmus or whatever he says, and then just Dark Presence, be gone. And I can see that, okay? If that's the case, I'll be right up there with you guys being like, Epic Games, this is stupid. I'm not going to follow your storyline anymore. That's too much. We got to get a little bit of original lore, okay? I'm okay with the collaborations, but I don't like the things like Superman taking down the Dark Presence. That's too much for me. So I'm going to wait to judge again. Let's continue on to what Kaj had to say. I feel like Epic is fooling you guys with giving misinformation so leakers can have a bad reputation to catch insiders, because this amount of fake leak is impossible. Supposedly, no, Epic Games likes the leaks, hyping things up, having all those conversations. I don't see Epic Games themselves doing this, but then again, we have Tim Sweeney going around and liking a bunch of posts saying that the event was going to be bigger than what it actually is. So, I don't know. I doubt it, but let's continue on to what Urgent had to say. Regardless of who's to blame, I think I'm ready to give up on the story for Fortnite. Honestly, wish they would embrace the comical side instead. The comedy was low-key the best part of the event. Yeah. There's been times where Fortnite's been pretty funny. Like, there's been times where I've laughed at Jonesy, but this might actually be the funniest part. The Family Guy was okay, but I actually found myself, I don't know what I looked like actually watching the event because I uploaded a reaction to the event. If I wasn't smiling, I know that I was smiling on the inside when I was watching the Simpsons stuff. It was pretty good, man. I enjoyed what Homer did with it. It was pretty good. I'm not ready to give up on the Fortnite storyline. It was good enough throughout the entirety of Chapter 6 where I paid attention to it. I want to pay attention to it more, and I want to get that closure. It just wasn't to the standard of, Donald Mustard. But truthfully, it wasn't. Okay, let's continue on over to Jekko, who had this to say. Exactly, I actually liked it. And people need to stop hyping themselves based on what leakers say. And I think it sets the chapter finale up well. Well said. This is what I don't understand. We have the exact words from Epic Games. And I still don't believe that anybody has any sort of right to criticize that event for not being big enough. Because Epic Games themselves literally said, this is going to be a mini event. And they delivered on that. People need to set their expectations to what Fortnite says, and only to what they say. Leakers are not responsible for your independent expectations. They just post the info given to them, which is their job. People are too impatient and too entitled nowadays. Best tweet that we've taken a look at so far. Completely accurate. I don't understand. Again, Fortnite said, mini event. What did everybody do? This is going to be the best event of all time. Like, it's crazy to me. I love it. People are too impatient and entitled nowadays. But guys, we still do have many more opinions to take a look at. Let me stop you for just one more second over here. As you might know, I am your guy with too many YouTube channels. We upload daily commentaries on multiple channels. You can check out the link tree if you are interested at the top of the description, or the direct links to all of my channels in the description down below. We've been seeing bleed over from the communities, and it has been very nice to see your time on these videos. I'm very grateful for it. I'm sorry that I'm wasting it a little bit as I'm yapping right now, but if you happen to enjoy my commentary, if you happen to want to use my videos as background noise, anything of the sorts, I'd appreciate it. You can check out any of those other niches that we have our toes dipped into on YouTube. With that being said, guys, thank you so much for listening to that. Let's get into the next reply over here. And Sizzo had this to say. I went into this not expecting much, but it's hard to blame the people for this one. Many event or not, when you hype stuff up such as this, you can't expect people to not ask questions when nothing that interesting lore-related happens outside of an uninteresting reason of how we went from Island A to B. To be honest with you, I thought it was interesting the way that we got there. It just didn't meet these big grand expectations of what people were setting. I get it though. I understand. Let's continue on to what Sonic User had to say. I enjoyed it. Seeing the Dark Presence was really satisfying to me, and the fact that he technically won is crazy to me. That's something Fortnite needs to do more, having the villains win, and the Dark Presence did for now at least. Let's see what happens on the 29th of November. Judging by what we're hearing, it looks like this reveal is going to pay off in a big way. I think it'd be cool if the Dark Presence even won. Excuse me, sorry about that if you can hear my notification, guys. I think it would be really cool if the Dark Presence even won in this big other event that we're having, because I would love to have an overarching villain, kind of like what we did with Geno for so long. I think having that kind of like overlooking the entire story with little storylines happening within that and getting a little bit of build up to Geno, or in Chapter 7's case might be the Dark Presence. I think that is when the Fortnite storyline is at its best, and I'm always a fan when villains win too. Kind of throws things for a different loop. Instead of the, hey, the 0 points back, I think it'd be cool if we had the Dark Presence like actively. Well, dude, what if the Dark Presence, like we see the 0 point, it's actually here. Dark Presence just like, I don't know, eats it. Or something like cooler than that. Drains it of all its energy, chucks it out of the loop so it's like gone forever. One day in Chapter 9, the last reality comes back. They found it floating around in space. I'm just brainstorming here, and like we've had to live under the Dark Presence for so long. Super cool. Hypex checking outside his house right now. Someone said we're not gonna be using clips of The Simpsons, but it's what people were acting like, man. Restro had this to say about the entire thing. We were misinformed, but I'm not upset. Epic did promote this event as a mini event. They purposely left us on a cliffhanger with the Dark Presence invading the island, so I believe we might be returning to reality 783 in the Chapter 6 finale. Despite that, the Dark Presence entrance was amazing, and I found the Simpsons animated shorts really funny. I think that's an excellent way to look at it. Dude, and it's so true. Like, look how cool the Dark Presence looks over here. I thought it was excellent. The way that it's like even just bleeding out right here. Super, super, super cool. Look at this thing, man. I loved it. I loved the design of it. And then they ruined it. I don't like that we got the full reveal just like that. That's the only giant misstep that I think they had, unfortunately. But let's continue on to what Tycon had to say. This was so funny as someone who loves the lore. If this actually makes you mad, how the fuck do you like this game's lore? The crap hasn't been serious at all since day 1, and especially further down in Chapter 3. I disagree with that, to be honest with you. I thought the story for Chapters 1, 2, and 3, and even a little bit of 4. 4 just concluded horribly, but I loved the storyline throughout Chapter 4. It had all the potential in the world. It was well said. It was very unique. And all the characters and, the entire story with the loop and the I.O. and all that, all of it was really connected. It never wasn't serious, so I actually disagree with when what people say about that. It's just, you can also appreciate the comical side of it over here, which I enjoyed this. It's a quote tweet too, Fortnite lore, baby. Man, it looks like something different's kind of going on with the whole Jonesy and this alien over here. Let's continue on to what Mary had to say. What even is there to be excited about in modern Fortnite? A villain that shows up for 1 second and gets immediately overshadowed by a collab? I'll agree with this if the conclusion to it is bad. Other than that, and let's assume that once the Chapter 6 conclusion comes and Chapter 7 story kicks off with a banger, we can finally look forward to these types of things, and moving forward, I will be happy about this. If we get little teasers, there's another thing like the Dark Presence, let's say, it shows up for just a second, I'm like, ooh, that's super cool, I wonder what that's about. Because I trust Epic Games to conclude it well. The future of the storyline, and I know people say this a lot, but I mean it. I really do mean it this time. Not that that's exactly something that I say often, but the future of Fortnite's storyline really is going to matter when it comes to this event. And for a lot of people, it's going to be a make or break for real. And a lot of people say that, but I think it's real this time, okay? Let's continue on to what Jojo Josiah had to say, what lore fans have been waiting for. I know. It makes the design look stupid. When it was so cool when it first came onto the island. But if you guys want to hear my reaction to the event, I reacted to it with Twisty Chase and Bork Chop. You can check it out right here. I'd love to have you over there. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Take care, everybody.